live a life free from fear of other people's judgment? The first thing that we do, and this is just sequential, not hierarchical. So when I say the first thing, I don't necessarily mean the most important thing, but the first sequentially. The first thing that you do is you recognize that no matter what you do, there will be people who will judge you. There will be people who will judge you negatively. Doesn't matter what you do. There are very few givens in the world. One of the givens is, no matter what you do, there will be people who will judge you badly for it. Welcome to the world. Now, that doesn't mean that because everything that you do has something that's inherently bad and certain people are seeing it. It's because everybody is seeing the world with their own glasses, their own filter. You know, when we learn to read and write in school, we're given these stencils. You know, when I had to learn how to write the alphabet, you're given these plastic stencils that have like cutouts of A and cutouts of B. And you'd put the stencil on the paper, and with our crayons or colored pencils, you'd literally just color in the empty spot, and then you'd pick up the stencil, and you had an A. Or you'd color in the space for B, and you'd pick up the stencil, there was a B. Well, it didn't matter if you colored all over that plastic. If it was a stencil of A, you couldn't get anything but A. Because everything else was covered. The only part that was empty was A. You could color all over the place. But when you pulled up that plastic, all that was going to show was A. Now, this is how people move through the world. We've got these stencils, literally these filters, that we wear based on our whole karmic package. Call it some past life stuff if you believe in past lives. Call it just childhood stuff if you don't. But it's everything up to this present moment. It's our, what you could call sanskaras. Our patterning. Mostly impacted by our family of origin. Mostly impacted by the first 10 years of our life. With some impacts from other things as well, but the primary manufacturer of the stencil that you're going to go through the world with, until and unless you do a lot of work, spiritual work, psychological work, is going to be the first decade of life. Now, you're going through the world with the stencil. Now, if my stencil is A, you could be singing alphabet soup. You could be doing the whole alphabet, the most beautiful rendition of the entire alphabet. But I'm only going to hear A. That's all I've got. And that's why no matter what you do, there are going to be people who will judge you badly for it. Because no matter what you do, they see A. They hear A. And this is why trying to change to make other people happy is such an exercise in futility. Because as long as they're moving through the world with that A stencil, it doesn't matter what you do. They're going to see A. So that's the first part, is simply the cognitive, intellectual awareness that no matter what I do, there will be people who will point a finger and say, not right, not good. And the minute that you do that, it frees you up a little. Because then you realize, well, I'm not going to get everybody's approval anyway. So I really better get used to the fact that there are going to be people who are going to judge me negatively. The next piece, though, which is probably the most important, is your own self-judgment. Because look, if I know, for example, beyond any doubt whatsoever, my eyes function very well. I've just checked a mirror before I walked in here, and I know I've got long brown hair. If I walk in here and you say to me, that is the ugliest purple mohawk that I have ever seen, it's not going to impact me. Because what I know is I don't have a purple mohawk. And it doesn't matter how much you try to criticize mine, I know I don't have it. So what I'm going to understand is either your eyesight is not good. I mean, literally, that you just literally can't see properly. Or that there is something going on in your brain/mind that interprets long brown hair as purple mohawk. But either way, it's not going to convince me that I've got a purple mohawk. Because I know beyond any doubt whatsoever, I don't need to see another mirror. I just saw it. I know I haven't gotten a haircut on my way in. I know I don't have a purple mohawk. And this is where our own self-awareness is so important. We get impacted by people's negative judgment because we believe it. I thought I had long brown hair. You tell me I've got a purple, really ugly purple mohawk. And suddenly it's like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I want to hide my head and I should get out of here. My God. Because I don't know myself. And so the key really is getting your assessment of yourself to be clear enough, grounded enough, honest enough. One of my favorite lines is it's in a poem by Khalil Gibran. He's, if not my favorite, he's certainly one of my top 2 or 3 favorites. And he has a beautiful poem on giving. And the poem is encouraging and exhorting us to give and to give and to give. But there's a particular line in there where he says something like, when the universe, that we judge others, we deem others as unworthy. And he says, when the universe has deemed them worthy of their days and their nights, who are you to deem them less than worthy of whatever you've got to offer? Now that's a bad paraphrase, but that's the gist of what his point is. And that works also in looking at ourselves. If the universe has deemed us worthy of our days and our nights, if you are still here, you have been deemed worthy. And you know that because you woke up this morning. And if you've been deemed worthy of your days and your nights by the universe, any other standard of judgment pales in comparison. And the question to ask, not necessarily verbally, but at least inside yourself to those who judge, is when the knower of all has deemed me worthy of my days and my nights, who are you to think that you know better? Who are you to think that I don't deserve your love, your acceptance? But of course, you can only ask that without attachment to getting it, because, see, the universe doesn't have a karmic package. The universe doesn't have a filter. God's not moving through the world with a filter. God doesn't have a karmic package he's working out. Everybody else does. And so their judgment of you tells you a lot more about them than about you. Which is why when people judge us, we have to look at them in terms of where they're coming from. I'll tell you a personal story that actually just happened a few hours ago. My beautiful divine assistant, Lori, sends me a message that has come to her on Facebook from my Facebook page, because she gets the notifications, that is someone who wrote me the most rude, accusatory message of being a fake sadhvi because I wear makeup, dye my hair, and she went on and on and on with all the things I do. Now, I don't do any of that. I don't dye my hair. I've never dyed my hair. I don't wear makeup. My entire regime, includes chapstick and tilak, basically. But nonetheless, I get literally assaulted, accosted sort of via the internet, not with a question, not with wondering, but literally with an accusation for sort of how dare I pretend to be spiritual while I am falsely beautifying the body. Now, clearly, that falls in the purple mohawk category. Meaning, I know I don't do those things, but it tells you a lot more about the person who's saying it than about me. I didn't have to stop and think, my God, do I? I know I don't. It didn't make me feel any less real or legitimate or valid just because somebody has accused me of not being it due to things that I don't do. But this is how most of judgment works. We judge others based on our stencils. And this is where it helps to simply understand, okay, whoever's doing the judgment has their own karmic package. That's for them. What can I do? I can have compassion for them. If I can't have compassion, at least I can have pity. I'll move toward compassion, but pity is pretty much easy for us to do. Begin with pity, move to compassion. Move to empathy. We've all made false judgments. No one here has never judged anyone. But we don't allow it to paralyze us. Because what we know is no matter what you do, people are going to judge. As I was reminded of today. Doesn't matter what you do. People will judge. So you have a responsibility to you and to your life and to your unfoldment, your moving into what you are here for. And yeah, people will judge. And the tragedy is the more real you become, this is the irony, the more real you become, the more honest you become, the more courageous you become, the more people will judge. Curl up in a corner and whimper, people will love you. Oh, no, you're wonderful, really, you're wonderful, it's okay, here, have a biscuit. But the more you are grounded in the self, and the less you need people's immediate approval, the more they're going to judge. And that's just part of the leela of perhaps living in Kali Yuga, or perhaps just being a human, or whatever it is, it exists. Your responsibility is to yourself, but your capital S self, not the lowercase s self, the capital S self, which is here to unfold. It's here to expand. Not by getting more and more degrees, not by getting a better and better job, not by acquiring more and more things, but to expand in its consciousness, to expand in its love, to expand in its awareness. That's what you're here for. And so every time you allow yourself to contract out of fear, you're saying no to the universe. And so you need to make a commitment to say yes. But to do so with such grounding. And this is not arrogance. See, this is what people will point a finger and say, look, he's become really arrogant. This is not arrogance. You have been created by God. Thinking that God is perfect is not arrogant. Thinking that we are fully worthy of our existence doesn't mean we don't have faults. Of course we have faults. We all have egos. The egos, we act in ways that aren't right. We all go to sleep some nights and think, oh my God, how did I say that today? We all pray for strength tomorrow to not make those mistakes again. That's part of being human. Again, remember, God is perfect. If he had wanted us to be perfect, I believe he would have made us that way. Which means that even in our imperfections, we're perfect. Even in working through our imperfections, there's a perfection in that. But that's the judgment, not other people's. And the last part is, until and unless you are grounded in your own truth, you won't be able to really accept anyone's love and acceptance anyway. So all of what you do or don't do, hoping and trying and yearning for people to approve and like and accept, you're actually preventing yourself from even being able to connect with their acceptance. Because you're not being real to you. So you're depriving yourself even of what you think you want most, which is love and belonging and acceptance. Because as long as I'm not being true to me, there is no one here to connect with in love. There is no one here to connect with in acceptance. First, I have to accept. First, I have to belong to me in me. Only then I can belong to you. Only then I can accept you and allow you to accept me. Only then we can come together in love.